Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second episode of Stags in the Studio in the 2024-2025 school year. I'm Logan Rundy, alongside Sports Director Andrew Jamison. Today's guest started as the athletic director here at Fairfield in the summer of 2017. After 5 years of excellent work, he was promoted to the Vice President for Athletics in July of 2022. Some of the work that he's done here at the university is launched the We Are Stags initiative with the message statement of mission, vision, and cultural commitments. Other things he's been a part of is Stags Compete, Stags Care, Stags Lead, and Stags Grow have been a huge part of the Fairfield community and have been spread on social media. In the 2023-24 school year, Fairfield won the Commissioner's Cup and won by the largest margin since 2009. If you're unaware what the Commissioner's Cup is, it is the largest honor for overall excellence in sports. While our guest has been here, at least half of Fairfield athletes have made the Dean's List while he's been here. Fairfield is consistently ranked in the MAC and NCAA in graduation rate. Our guest completed his undergraduate degree at Trinity College in Connecticut studying American Studies, and then went on to complete his master's degree at Springfield College in Physical Education and Sports Management. Today's guest, Paul Schlickmann. Paul, welcome to our studio.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you guys having me.
So to start off today's interview, we kind of just are wondering how you got here and how your journey to Fairfield kind of started.
Oh boy. How far back do you want me to go?
Start at the start, right after you graduated.
So I graduated. You mentioned I was very fortunate to go to Trinity College. Great place. Had the good fortune of being a student athlete there and be part of the men's basketball program. We had some really good success. Very highly competitive Division III league, the NESCAC, which is continued to be that one of the most competitive leagues in the nation at that level. So had a great experience as a student athlete, which I think large part drove my desire to be in athletics as a profession. Didn't know exactly what that meant at the time. I kind of joke with student athletes now who come in and ask me for advice that I really didn't have a great plan, to be honest. So I encourage those to do as I say and not as I did. But I was fortunate to get involved with the Student Athlete Advisory Committee there, worked in the athletic equipment room, kind of understood the nuances, the ins and outs of athletic administration a little bit, or began to. Rick Hazelton, the AD there for a long time, was one of my earliest mentors. So got a sense of what it took. When I graduated, I had a desire to get into the coaching ranks. Did that for a couple of years as an assistant at the Division III level. Went to Springfield as a graduate assistant. They were Division II at the time, was a grad assistant with the Division II men's program as a coach. That was where my evolution or transition began, I would say, from the coaching world to the administrative side of things. And I began to get involved working in the athletics department there and running events and those types of things. So I kind of took a liking to the operational administrative side, and that's where I began to veer off. Did a 1-year internship with the ECAC that was purely championships administration, PR, which would be in line with what you guys are trying to work at now. Did that for a year and then started applying for administrative jobs. After I completed my master's, my internship, I was very fortunate to land an assistant AD job at Yale. 27 years old, coming out of grad school, got an assistant AD job in the Ivy League. I felt like I had died and gone to heaven. So great place to start. Was there for 10 years. Amazing world in which to grind your teeth as an administrator because the Ivy League is so broad-based. 30-plus sports in every program. You have to do a little bit of everything. So I became very much an expert generalist on the internal operations side. So learned everything there was to learn to figure out how to be, a competent athletic administrator, and did that for 10 years. Had an opportunity to go to Stony Brook as a deputy AD, a number 2 person in our young fledgling Division I program. Amazing opportunity to kind of build something from scratch in its fledgling stages. And then as I was going through my tenure there, so 10 years EL7 at Stony Brook, I realized that I aspired to be an AD and started dipping my toe in the water for some opportunities. And fast forward to 2010, was able to interview for and land my first AD job at Central Connecticut. went there, had amazing experience, first time AD, and learned a lot. And I think we had some pretty good success. 2017 comes around, and I was aware. I had been aware of Fairfield my entire life. So my dad is an alum, graduated in 1962, came here on the GI Bill. Always spoke about Fairfield with great reverence, and so I, by association, had great fondness for it. And my very first college basketball game I ever went to was with my dad, Fairfield Holy Cross, in Worcester, Mass. So I was introduced to Stags and Fairfield lore very early on. Also introduced to the idea of what it meant to be Jesuit educated and spirit, mind, body, and cura personalis and the holistic educational process and all of that. So it was kind of part of my core growing up. The Fairfield job's open. Always had great respect for the Fairfield program, being in New England college athletics my entire life. Was fortunate to get a call from the search firm that was leading the charge on the search, and began talking to them, and one thing led to another, and very fortunate to get the offer and then jumped at the opportunity. The more I got into it and learned about the transitions that were happening here, namely leadership transition at the top with President Nemec. He had been hired literally, I think, 3 months prior to me going through this process, and he kind of had me at hello, to be honest. His vision for the university, his vision for athletics as a role in the growth of a university and a key component of that. And so it just got me really excited. And then I was felt really fortunate to land the job. And here we are 7 years later, rocking and rolling with, an incredible growth period for Fairfield University. And I like to think a concurrent growth process for Stag Athletics.
And we mentioned, the We Are Stags initiative that you launched, and there's so many tenets that go off of that. I'm looking at the list here: Stags compete, Stags care, Stags lead, Stags grow. It just goes to show the testament of the culture that's being built here at Fairfield. And going off of that culture, especially within this last year in particular, what about this culture and this dynamic on campus have you taken reward in, and what Fairfield mean to you now?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'll try and be thoughtful yet somewhat succinct, because I could probably talk for hours, to be honest with you. But we worked really hard on the development of our core values, mission statement, the vision statement, the cultural commitments, because I felt like we needed, just like any good organization, any good corporation, any good entity that needs a guidepost to which you hang your hat on in growth, in good times and bad, and so forth. So we worked really hard on that, but we also were very painstaking about making sure it aligned with the university, the Jesuit values, that it aligned with university vision, namely Dr. Nemec's. Part of that is being values-based, student-centric, outcomes focused. You hear him talk about it all the time. And then creating something in a translational way that was unique to Stags Athletics. So that is really what we created in a nutshell. And then we have been very intentional about trying to adhere to that in every facet of our operation, every decision we make, to try and lean into those to have positive outcomes. And so I think the result of doing that, of fostering it amongst your athletes, of continually reminding folks that this is who we are, of hiring people in transition who believe in that vision, it becomes organic. And I think it has, to some degree. Like, our athletes know what it means, and they talk about it all the time. Our coaches recruit to it. So what I believe, and what is most gratifying to me, I guess, to answer your question about the most recent year we had, is there's the Commissioner's Cup Award is the cumulative impact of, I think, a way of doing things in a culture that we have established that is committed to comprehensive excellence, that competitive success, I believe, is a byproduct of doing 100 different things really well and being committed to those. So that's why you mentioned, Logan, at the outset, our athletes doing really well in the classroom. That's part of it too. We have a commitment to community service. That's part of it. There's a million things within that framework that go into a culture that I think feeds off itself. And I like to think it's never an end game. The development of and continuing progression of a culture and strengthening of it is a daily process, and you have to always work on it and display it and embody it and continue to foster it. So, but what is most gratifying to me is that I see it at work, and I think it's become part of who we are. And when we, as one example, when we search for positions in the department, our coaches, our athletes sell our culture organically. It's just like when students or recruits or parents come on this campus, they immediately feel a sense of community and a palpable sense of energy and family. So I believe, and I like to think, that's what I see happening with our program, that it's not to say we've arrived, but I think it's working.
You definitely mentioned how active, and everyone buying in, a buy-in type culture. We were working the soccer game last night. It was funny, and President Nemec's at
right there.
every athletic game, just if you want to dive in, was it more of the right place at the right time for Fairfield, or you just want to dive into that relationship with Nemec and how he sold you on love at first sight in a sense?
He's and you're 100% right with your observation. He is our greatest fan, most ardent supporter, and uber competitive, loves athletics, former student athlete himself, played rugby at Yale. There's a number of reasons why he believes in what we do and how we do it. But bigger picture, he believes in and articulated to me that he believed in athletics as a vehicle to achieve strategic priorities for the university, namely as a vehicle to enhance campus spirit and pride, which was a priority for us out of the chute, as a vehicle to help achieve national prominence, which has been an ongoing, priority for the university, which we are achieving in a growth pattern and a trajectory that's unprecedented, and we're doing so every year. Not only his energy and support from a competitive standpoint of athletics, but believing in it as a component of university life and as a key component to achieve strategic objectives. And so I loved his energy. I loved his vision for that. And he has backed it up every step of the way with how he has been engaged with us, supported us. And so it's really, it's all about, from my chair and in Division I athletics, it's all about leadership and alignment from top to bottom if you're going to be successful or not. And so that was really important to me in taking this step, and we have been and we are. So I feel really fortunate to have a leader who understands us, believes in us, holds us to task for trying to be that vehicle to compete at a high level and have high expectations and be aspirational, and as he should. But I feel like we are in lockstep with that and where we want to go and how we want to achieve it. And that's, you can't ask for more than that. And, from my chair, and particularly in this modern world of Division I athletics, that's going through some pretty incredible changes right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of my question is, as we talked about the community and President Mark Nemec and how much that means to you and his support as well, I guess what's your favorite part about not only the Fairfield University community, but the Fairfield community as a whole? I understand you're a Fairfield resident, so kind of how do those two things kind of tie together?
I love this place. I love being a part of it. I love being on campus. The energy that is exuded just from when you drive through or walk through the gates, I think is palpable. And, I was on campus early a week ago, and I dropped my daughter off at Tomlinson Middle School, which is right down the street, and that's at 7:50. And then I just came on campus and I parked and I walked over to Barone to Dunkin' to get a coffee, and I sat in the chairs right around the corner, and I was just taking in the campus waking up. And so, but I love the campus. I love being part of an educational environment, but this environment is special. And so I love the energy. I feed off the energy that I get from our student athletes every day. I love the sense of community and family. I love that and I credit Dr. Nemrick for instilling this and continually fostering this, is there's a commitment to comprehensive excellence in everything that we do. Athletics certainly is one component of that, but we're doing that in so many different ways. You can see it visibly in our growth. You can see it in our rankings. You can see it in the caliber of our programs. There's all kinds of ways to measure that, but so I love the environment that exudes from that. I say to external groups all the time that I think one of the hallmarks of this place is that we have our foot on the gas in pursuit of comprehensive excellence. We do it in a way that is uber focused on phenomenal experience for our students, in our case, our student athletes, and we do it in a way that's anchored in our core values. And I think that's a really powerful combination. And I believe, in large part, the positive outcomes and growth and trajectory we're on is a result of adhering to that.
And you mentioned like one of the growth and trajectory kind of unprecedented, as you mentioned. Obviously, fundraising, I feel like, is at an all-time high now, and there's such a huge alumni network here furthering the culture. I want to talk about the Leo D. Mahoney Arena, though. 51 million donor-funded on-campus arena, furthering that campus community. And just how did that process come along, and give us a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look as to how school spirit kind of is at an all-time high now with the on-campus arena.
Total game changer for us. You guys, have seen it, lived it, breathed it. But the layers of impact that Mahoney Arena has had on our program, if you go inside out on our athletics program, the impact on the programs who play there, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, the impact on our athletics program as a visible indicator of how committed we are to Division I athletics. So we're a recruiting tool for all of us. To the campus community, it's one of, if not the first stop on admissions tours. So it's a gem of a building that I think shows that overarching commitment to modern excellence that I just referred to. So, and it was a big part of the mindset behind the formulation of it and making it a priority was to create a convening point to enhance campus spirit and pride and foster that. For a long time, as you know, we were playing our basketball games off campus. And when I got here in 2017, I was bombarded with the same question over and over again: is it when are we going to bring basketball back to campus? So it was, I think, weighing on people. I think it had been talked about for a long time. So I'm credit President Nemec and our board, and certainly those amazing donors who were the linchpin for getting us in this position, to believe in that vision, to want to create that, because so many of them had been alums here and experienced what it meant to go to games in Alumni Hall. It was such a huge component of their undergraduate experience, and they wanted to help recreate that. So the layers of impact, again, for the campus community, but then beyond that, it has become the place to be. 2 years of a data set, if you will, the place to be on a Friday night, a Saturday afternoon, a Sunday afternoon, for townspeople, for their families, for the nearly 4,000 alums we have in town. It created a buzz in the community that, wow, this Mahoney's the place to go, man. Like, it's a lot of fun, and it's a great place to take your family. And by the way, it's pretty good basketball, pretty good volleyball. Like, so that it took hold beyond to the degree to which I thought we would have it. So incredible layers of impact. It's an amazing place. We're really proud of it. People have asked me in the first couple of years, is there, as you always want to do, like, is there anything you would change? There's very little, if anything, I think we would change. I say very honestly that I think you might find bigger venues. You're not going to find better. I think it's one of the finest Division I basketball arenas in all of mid-major basketball.
Yeah, that's a great point. I would continue.
No, go for it.
Yeah, and as a tour guide myself, it's something that we take great pride in. When I mention the statistic of the $51 million, everybody's eyes open up. And then I usually ask the question of, how much do you think this costs? And I usually follow that up with, it's not because of the money. It's about the people that were behind the money that was donated. I think that really makes it special. And something I also like to point out while I'm in there is just because 3 of our varsity athletics play in that arena, all of our sports are represented if you're a Hall of Famer on that right side. So
exactly right. That's a great point, Logan. It's been beyond the impact to athletics from a campus community perspective. There's innumerable events that have now become part of that arena. Opening day events at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
And a whole slew of events in between leading up to, baccalaureate event and baccalaureate mass. And so many events that are very poignant and really important events for the campus community. So it's impacted everybody in a very positive way. You're 100% right.
Yeah, right on. And I think just kind of back to your job, what's the most rewarding or your favorite part of what you do at Fairfield? I understand it's a team effort, but if you were to take an individual success or a moment here, what would you say that would be?
Wow, that's a tough one. There's so many things that float my boat on a daily basis. I guess I continually come back to being around our athletes on a daily basis and being inspired by them and who they are and what they do and how they go about their daily business and their daily lives. And it's really difficult to be a Division I student athlete these days, and I think ours do it with great skill and great joy. And so just feeding off their energy and the kind of the daily interactions and quick hellos or, quick conversations that ensue. I really value and appreciate that part of it. But then, watching them succeed, getting to know them and then watching them succeed and watching a program be committed to, a certain goal and a certain level of expectations and then watching it play out. And that's, fortunately for us, I think that's played out a number of times with a number of teams, over the course of the last 7 years. But it never gets old, watching athletes and teams do it the right way and achieve high levels of success, I think is what really brings me joy. And then I think that comes back, Andrew, to what we talked about with the organic evolution of the culture. So you kind of see that at play. And then any success we have is the outcome of that.
Yeah, and you mentioned this last year we saw 4 conference champions, 7 regular season championships, 5 NCAA postseason appearances, and not to mention 2 national rankings, both by the women's basketball team and the women's lacrosse team. So certainly an unprecedented year. But I feel like a common saying in sports is the job's not finished, and a lot of these coaches emphasize the fact that we're still hungry. I kind of want to hint a little bit at what you're looking forward to and the direction of Fairfield Athletics for this upcoming year.
Yeah, great question, and you hit the nail on the head. It's your greatest strength is your greatest challenge, right? So that's the nature of the beast in athletics, is we're always, turning the page to what's next, right? So I viewed this and tried to convey that what I do believe, and you articulated well, like what was a historical year for us in a lot of ways, not just in terms of data points, but seeing that those various levels of success come together. So extremely gratifying, because we established that as a objective, a goal, a benchmark the moment I got here. Got to win the Commissioner's Cup. So we were very aspirational in our approach to everything. We had knocked on the door very closely 3 prior years, and we finally broke the door down. So really gratifying, and wanted to be very explicit and intentional about telling our staff that, and our entire department, that was a team award, because it takes a village, it takes an entire department to be committed to comprehensive excellence to achieve that outcome. So wanted to be sure to celebrate that, give it its due, because we had put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into trying to achieve that goal. At the same time, And we did that with our athletes too. We had our welcome back event on Labor Day, which we do every year, and we put the Commissioner's Cup right up on the stage. And we explained to them why and what it meant. And I literally had them stand up and dance around and high-five each other for 30 seconds to celebrate it. And then I said, okay, now what's next? And it's about using that as a launching pad, if you will, or a bench. It's a benchmark in time that we achieved a goal. Now what's next? And we're not satisfied with that. We want to. That is now we've now reset our own standard and our own bar to achieve that. So now our objective is to go get another one. We do that by, and I still believe that's an outcome of a way of doing things. So we do that by trying to continue to do things the right way, adhere to our culture, and then good things ensue. What played into the look forward to this year is we choose a theme for the year. And this year we chose Forged, Resilient, Built for Life. Forged Resilient is embedded in Stags Grow, one of the 4 cultural commitments. So we always try and choose a theme that is part of one of the commitments or part of our language, if you will. Why do we choose that? Andrew, you outlined all the successes we had. Part of listing the successes is that we had 7 runners up. So we had a ton of success. We also fell a little bit short in a bunch of ways. So what's the next step? How do we get those 7 programs to break the door down? And in that moment, achieve at an even higher level. And so it's all about trying to identify, assess where your opportunities for growth are so that you can continue that pattern, and ultimately helping athletes' programs become the best version of themselves. So if you do that, then I think the results ensue. So that's how I viewed it. That's how we're trying to put it in perspective, future forward. You mentioned competing at a high level on the national stage. We're trying to do that. That aligns with President Nemec's vision to achieve national prominence. If we put teams on the national stage and they succeed, and we have 2 teams ranked in the top 25, that brings us national prominence in Division I athletics. So we don't want to just win conference championships and get to the tournament. We want to win games in the tournament. So I think that's the next step for us, is to try and continue to compete on a national stage. As we're going through this evolution of Division I view it as a great opportunity, because I think we can use this as a moment in time to take a step forward and really put Fairfield athletics on the map, just as the university is on the national stage as well.
And you mentioned, obviously that's evident in a lot of strength of schedules by volleyball, a lot of power conference, and even, various sports. It's not just soccer and volleyball we're going to see down the line.
Absolutely.
Like welcoming women's basketball, welcoming Villanova, going to Arkansas, Oklahoma State. But keep it within the MAC. Sacred Heart and Merrimack, obviously the 2 new additions to the MAC, very hungry. We saw last night as we watched the women's soccer game, 1-0 in a grit and grind type of game. What is kind of, you hinted at it a little bit, like the mindset of the athletes right now? I just like a little bit more insight, because I know you guys have a very close relationship, as does all members on the board, with your athletes. How have the athletes responded to that speech you were given on Labor Day, and what's their mindset right now?
I think they've responded really well. I think they continue to do. They continually impress me with their capacity and their ability to understand and balance a lot of things. So I think they're taking it really well. I think they're responding to the challenge. I think, I try and get around to as many practices as I can and see the energy and the vibe. And honestly, I think it's as good as it's been since it's better than it's been since I've been here. The enthusiasm, the energy in practice, I think this mindset, this culture of a commitment to broad-based or comprehensive excellence, I think that has fed off itself. And now enough teams and individuals have tasted it at a high level that, it's become part of what everybody wants to achieve. And there's great across the board support of each other amongst teams. I love that. The support our athletes have for each other and the interaction that I see is the best that I've been around at this point. Athletes committed to a high level of success and trying to compete, best that I've been around right now. It's really fun to see, and I think that's a combination of a lot of things kind of that we've worked really hard to foster, kind of jiving at the same time, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. I think, on the athletic side, there's been a lot of growth, but I want to talk about the academic side as well.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
So while you've been here, at least 50% of Fairfield student athletes have made the Dean's List at least at some point during their career. Also, our university as a whole is down to about a 33% acceptance rate. I believe when you started, it was a little bit about 30% higher. And so what does that mean to you, and how much pride do you take that, yes, we can get it done on the athletic field, but our athletes can get it done educationally, as well as our professors being excellent as well. So
Sure.
kind of just talk about how that works in terms of, I know athletes miss a lot of time during the year, especially in your winter, finals and things like that. So talk about, I'm just curious about how the professors have a huge impact on your department.
Yeah, I'll try to go big to small. We should all be very incredibly proud of the strides that the university has made. So credit President Nemec, credit our board, credit Corey Eunice, our VP for enrollment, who I like to call the Billy Bean of admissions. I think the guy's brilliant with what he does in that role. So the numbers speak for themselves. They are exceptional. In my view, any scorecard that is highly rated is a result of how you do things and the product that you have to sell. So we have an exceptional product. In talking about my dad and my understanding of Fairfield from an early age, I always had I was kind of weaned on Jesuit values and what it meant to be Jesuit educated, because my dad was at the high school level and here at Fairfield. The more I become immersed in it directly, I believe the caliber of the education that our students, and in our case our student athletes, get here is second to none. I put it up against any school in the country because I believe the holistic approach to it, the core curriculum, the ability to be incredibly well-versed and well-educated in the liberal arts, but also have the opportunity to have a specialized focus or a professional focus. I think that's what a modern educational template can and should look like. And so, and when you see it on display, like I ask our athletes to get in front of their peers or speak to alumni groups or in any number of ways to put them literally on a stage at a podium to convey what it means to them to be part of this program or whatever it may be. And they constantly hit it out of the park. And I think that's a testament to the caliber of the education they receive and how we, the university, develop young men and women to be the best version of themselves. So I think there's really something to it. That, in turn, I think is a huge recruiting tool for us. So I really believe in that piece of it. And I think I got off track with what the second part of your question was. So
In terms of professors in that relationship,
we have I'm in terms of being impressed with our athletes. I'm how they manage their daily lives and commit to achieving at a high level academically. Obviously, we recruit them with that in mind, but then they translate it well. Professors are incredibly supportive and understanding of that level of commitment that they have as student athletes and some of the constraints they have and challenges they face, but they're incredibly supportive of it. Gotten to know many of them, and I think we have incredible men and women teaching our students, how to grow.
Certainly a win-win culture that is fulfilling in all parties. I guess my final question for you here is, when this is all said and done at Fairfield, what do you want to be remembered for?
Me personally, or just the program?
It can be either one. You can do one, you can do both. It's your interview, it's your choice.
Well, I guess it's the old adage is that you think about what legacy you want to leave. I would like to think that at its core, simplistically, you've left something better than you found it, that you've shown growth, that you've established, a way of doing things that that has, President Nemec likes to refer to Fairfield being a beacon in the educational ecosystem. I would like Stag Athletics to be seen as a beacon in the world of Division I athletics, as that, when they talk about Fairfield and Stag Athletics, they say, wow, they do it right over there. And look at everything they've achieved at a high level, but it's because of a sense of having a model for how you operate in Division I and the type of student athlete experience that you create. So I would like our program to be seen as a model in this modern world of Division I athletics. That's something is attractive to the best and the brightest, but is seen as a way to do things the right way.
Yeah, it's definitely a great way of looking at it. I think, as Andrew was saying, this job is super rewarding, and what Fairfield does for our culture and our community is really second to none, and we can't thank President Mark Nemec enough, you guys in athletics, our professors, and really everyone in this community to make it happen. So
you said it best, it takes a village.
It sure does.
That village is thriving is better than ever at the moment.
Well, you guys are part of it too, so we appreciate your support and everything you're doing to promote the university and promote Stag Athletics. We appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. As we wrap up here on this Thursday afternoon now, we appreciate you all for listening in this morning. Andrew Jameson is our sports director. Paul Schlickmann, our special guest. We can't thank you enough for being here. I'm Logan Rundy. As we wrap up, please go back and check out the first episode of Stags in the Studio with Fairfield field hockey head coach Jackie Kane, who's in her final season. Thank you so much for being here. Andrew Jameson, Paul Schlickmann, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm Logan Rundy. Enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe. Have a good one.